Today on Keep Shooting Monday, prepping for a photo shoot and lots of Nikon news. Hey everyone, Greg Cazillo from Cazillo.com. Welcome to Keep Shooting Monday, number 41. Let's start out with that Nikon news. They're now shipping the new D5300. Features Wi-Fi connectivity, 24.2 megapixel, which is interesting. They keep on going higher and higher with the megapixels. 1080 or 60p video, which is nice. Wouldn't mind playing with that someday. And also 5 frames per second. Most of the time, I don't recommend that most people buy the 5000 series or 3000 series. Usually when I recommend a camera, somebody says, well, what camera should I buy? I'll usually say, hey, you really want to start off with the 7000 series, either an older 7000 if your budget is real limited, or go up to a 7100 if they can afford it right away. I think the Wi-Fi thing is a little gimmicky. I mean, yeah, you might use it once in a while, but I think it's just something that it's just not gonna be a huge feature that you're gonna use all the time. You might buy the camera for that, like, oh wow, that's pretty cool, but you're not gonna end up using it, in my opinion. So it's there. It's another feature. They can now say that they have it without the extra dongle. Great. Okay, maybe some people will use it, but most people probably won't. So Nikon also released an AF lever, NAL1. Basically, what this is for when you're shooting video, gives you more fine-grained control over the autofocus and also the zoom functions on your lenses. When you're actually turning those levers on the camera, it's hard to get a real fine-grained, tiny little turn. You know what I mean? And also, you can use these to basically set them. So if someone is walking towards you, you can set it to follow focus and you can follow it and move it. And that AF lever is then going to allow you to kind of stop where that person is going to stop. Then you'll stay in focus. So if the person starts out with dialogue 10 feet from you, then they're going to move in 5 feet from you. And so that's going to allow you to follow them a lot easier and then stop in the right place. And so I haven't seen a price on this thing yet, but yeah, we'll see how expensive it is. There are tons of them out there. And so you can, pick it up if you do a lot of video, but I might try one out to see if it'll actually help with some of my video projects in the future. We will see. Nikon also released a 58mm 1.4G lens. I have a feeling this lens is targeted more towards DX camera shooters, lens shooter, or body shooters, I guess I should say, that want the 85mm bokeh and a really good sharp lens. But the real 85mm is actually a little bit longer because of the DX crop. Try it out, see if it works for you. I'm not a big fan of any 50mm lens. I'd personally rather go up to the 85. But if I had a DX, maybe this would be the way to go. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't see myself purchasing this particular lens as a full frame since I have a full frame body. There's also from Nikon a rumored full-frame retro-style camera. It's supposed to have a D4 sensor, mount to all the old AE lenses, and so that's interesting. I guess it's more like an FM or an FE2 or something along those lines. A lot of people are buying those retro-style cameras, and so, we'll see. One post that I saw somewhere said, oh, it will be good if it was, under $2,000, which I have a feeling it's not going to be. I think it's going to be expensive, but I've been proven wrong before. But yeah, interesting. David Hami also posted an article about a request from the National Association of Realtors for use of one of his photos for free. This really bothers me that there are so many bloggers out there and so many people out there that are making money, especially big companies like the National Association of Realtors, that expect that just giving you more promotion and more quote-unquote promotion for the images that you have out on the web is good enough for you to put your photos out there and to use their photos on their website. It really is bothersome, and there's a lot of it goes the same with all media. Basically, all media is doing this, from magazines to newspapers to blogs, and the TV. They all use photos and use images for free, saying, "Oh yeah, you'll get a lot of promotion," but you really don't. You'd be amazed how little it actually helps and little it actually goes anywhere or does anything. That's why you need to get paid for it. Any of your images that are out there that someone wants to use, you need to get paid for those images' use. Even if it's just a little bit of money or a certain period of time or something, or some kind of payment, you need some physical payment if they want to use your photos. It's the better way to go. Don't start giving it out for free. It's fine if you want to give something out to a friend or something like that. That's all fine, but not if it's a big company out there that's making millions and millions, probably billions of dollars. No, they need to pay. They should not be going out and soliciting other photographers to use stuff for free. Next thing today, Cazillion questions. Christoph writes, I'm trying to understand how auto ISO actually behaves under different conditions. Manual, aperture priority, with flash, etc. Christoph, there's one huge problem with auto ISO, and that's that it is buried in the menu system. It might work out better if it wasn't buried in the menu like it is, but it's not. Nikon, at least, I don't know if Canon does too, but Nikon buries it in the menu system. Even on my D3 series cameras, it's buried way deep in and it's hard to find. That means that you're not going to change it. You're going to forget about it. You're going to turn it on, you're going to forget about it, and then you're going to be figuring out, well, what's wrong with my photos? Why can't I figure out why everything is underexposed or overexposed? Is there something wrong with my camera? Same thing with the metering. People will often have their camera set on a spot meter and wonder why all of their photos are overexposed or underexposed. So it's these auto modes and these functions that are built into the camera that are meant to improve the way you use them and improve the quality of your photos and make your life easier. But people expect them to just work, and they don't work in a lot of situations. So the answer is to know your camera, know the exposure modes. That auto ISO is going to function the same in auto ISO or in aperture, blah, 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 in aperture mode, in shutter priority, in manual. It's going to always do the same thing. It's only relying on the meter in the camera, and we all know that the meter in the camera is not perfect. You have to interpret what the meter is doing and understand what the meter is doing and then adjust it slightly or maybe a lot. Like right now I'm recording this video and the meter in the camera is telling me that I'm a stop and a half overexposed. But as you can see in the image, it's not. The reason why it's metering that way is because of the white background. So you need to really understand what the camera is doing, not just set it on an auto function and expect it to give you good photos. That's not going to happen. I do suggest you re-watch that video so that you can understand it better. I have a feeling you didn't watch it well enough to actually understand how I explained it, or maybe there's a language barrier there. I don't know where you're from, but that could also be the issue. So learn your camera, do it the right way, learn how the exposure works, and you will be a better photographer. John asks, isn't auto ISO review of photos after a shot a good way to check and see if you're exposing for highlights that your exposures are coming out? It can be, John, yes. But here's the problem. Just like with the auto ISO, you develop a crutch and you don't get more experience. And it's also distracting. When you're trying to shoot and you're trying to shoot more photos, instead of paying attention to the scene and what's going on in front of you, you're looking at each individual photo. You shoot and look and look and look and look. And that means you're going to miss other moments that are there in front of you. That's obviously a problem. That's why I recommend that all photographers turn off the image review, the auto image review on the camera. If you're not sure what that is, basically, if the photo is popping up on your screen immediately after you take it, you need to turn that function off, okay? If you're worried about your exposure, the best thing to do is to go into the scene, shoot 1 or 2 photos, check to make sure that your histogram is good, make sure that your exposure looks fine, there's no issues, maybe adjust it if you need, and then shoot through the scene. While all the time paying attention to see if your lighting has changed, if your exposure is changing. If you're really worried about your exposure, then you need to use the meter on the inside of the camera and the scale on the inside of the camera, or if you're on an aperture priority or shutter priority, make sure that your exposure settings, your shutter or the aperture, are not going too far in the wrong way. All right, those are your cues. Those should be inside of the viewfinder choices. They should not be taking your eye away. If this is the camera, we should not be taking our eye away from the camera to look down at it and missing what else is going on in front of us. That's the wrong way to use the camera, and so I highly suggest you do not use that and only use it when you really need to. If you are in a scene where you need it, just get so that your fingers know where everything is and develop that muscle memory for where the buttons are so that you can quickly review. I have a muscle memory for exactly where the buttons are on my camera, and so I can quickly pull it away, look, zoom in, check it for focus, and go back to what I'm doing. But I only do that if I know that I'm not going to miss another shot. So pay attention. That's the reason for that tip, and here's another link to that video. Let's talk about prepping for a photo shoot. The number one thing you need to start with when doing this is, if you're working for a client, make sure you have a good, strong understanding of what they want. Do they want a background? Do they want something set, in an outdoor setting? Or, understand the type of photo that they're expecting you to create. If you don't have a good understanding, they're probably not going to like your photos, and you're not going to understand why. It could be an awesome photo of that person, but if it's not what they want, say it's a business and they have a certain idea for a photo, a product, or whatever it is, and you shot it on a white background, but yet they wanted it in a certain scene or a certain use, it's not going to work. It's not what they want, and they're not going to want to pay for it, and they're going to be upset and all that good stuff. So that's number one. Have a good conversation and a good understanding of what they're looking for. Oftentimes I'll ask them what they want and have them send me a sample, and then we are 100% sure on what they want. Or I could send them over to I can send them some examples of some work that I've done in the past, and they say, yes, I want something like this, and then we are 100% sure and agreed before I go into it. The next thing, if you're on location, you need to make sure you have all of your equipment. A lot of things that I'm going to be bringing with me and things that I think about. I actually think about the entire scene, the entire setup, as I'm getting everything together, as I'm pulling equipment together. So this week I actually have a photo shoot, a portrait session at a law office. I think it's going to be 3 or 4 lawyers that they're going to have me photograph. And so I think about the entire scene, the entire setup, to make sure that I have all the equipment that I need. So number one, my backgrounds and background stands. Obviously that's important. That's kind of the place that I usually start. What's in my background? What am I going to do in my background? Then I move a little bit farther. So I think about this whole photo shoot right here, this whole area that I'm looking at. So I start with my background and how I'm keeping that background up in the air. Then I move a little bit forward and think about a stool or a place to sit. And then stands for the lights and the actual lights. Then I move up a little bit farther, more stands. Then I look at my softboxes and my umbrellas. And then I look up here at the actual camera. It's sitting on a tripod right now. And is it video? Do I need audio gear? Do I need a reflector? Am I doing groups? Am I doing a lot of people? So I need to think about all of those things. Also, a laptop. Do you need take a laptop? Do you want to be able to review the photos immediately? And of course, your card readers. And if you are shooting indoors, you definitely want to take some kind of a gray card so that you're sure to get the proper white balance. I think that is about the extent of my list of stuff, but that's the way I think about the entire shoot. I start with my background and I work towards the camera, making sure that I have each individual piece. A lot of times I'll end up writing it down. If I don't write it down, then I sometimes will use an actual checklist of things that I've had, and one of these days I'll get that posted up online for you. of items that you might need to take with you. I'll work on that soon and hopefully get that posted up for you. So, of course, don't forget your camera, your lenses, your memory cards, your smaller strobes, any other reflectors or diffusion devices, that kind of thing. They can all make or break your day. And if you do forget something, do your best. There's that old saying, don't let them see you sweat. That is super important, to do your best and make sure that you can get through it, still making the photos look good. If there's a piece of puzzle that you absolutely have to have, then you have to go back and get it. But otherwise, just don't let them see you sweat. Make it work. Find a way. And typically it works out just fine. You don't have any issues. I know that's happened to me a number of times, and I've been lucky, haven't had to go back and get any gear. So I think that's everything for today. Keep your questions coming. I do need some questions for next week. And we have one more week to post your photos for the photo contest over on the forum. And make sure you say hi to me up at the Photo Expo in New York. Greg Cazillo, Cazillo.com. Thanks, guys. Keep shooting.